Hey, Ken. How's it going?
That's going great.
Good. I wanted to sit down and talk with you today, Ken, about your background because radiation protection is a pretty hot topic in the public sphere these days. And you actually know a lot about radiation, and the reason why our company actually even exists today is because of your journey that you went on to protect yourself from radiation. So can we talk a little bit about you and your experience and your knowledge around radiation with
Yes.
C60?
Yes, I had actually discovered C60. I was working on a fusion reactor project, and to get added protection from radiation, I went out there besides shielding, because a lot of people working on this type of fusion reactor had unfortunate fates. So I went out looking for an extra radiation protected and discovered this stuff called carbon-60, or C60 for short. And basically, they gave, one set of rats got carbon-60, the other set of rats didn't. They hit them with a fatal dose of radiation. Pretty much all the C60 rats live, whereas all of the control rats died. So when I learned about that, I got a couple sources of C60, and we were using it during our program, during our research with the fusion reactor, and we're all still around, so that worked out.
Okay, well, I want to take a step back because you're very humble. And a lot of people don't know this. You seem to gloss right over this part. But most people don't wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to work on a MOXIE fusion reactor project. Most people don't wake up in the morning and think I want to prove a more efficient form of nuclear fusion. So can you just help us understand, for those of us who aren't on your level, can you please help us understand what inspired you and what motivated you, and kind of what was the impetus for you to go on this journey to discover this technology and to prove that this would work?
Well, a lot of it was Fukushima. When it melted down, and then finally when the cloud of radioactive came over Colorado, you can actually see gamma radiation.
What does that look like?
It looks like tiny little flashes in your eye, tiny little white or blue flashes in your eye. And so I noticed that I was driving down the road after the cloud got here, I was seeing lots of little flashes in my eyes.
That's not angels.
That's not angels. Those are little gamma angels, gamma ray angels. And so anyway, I decided, I had read about this type of fusion. It's different than regular fusion. Most people take hydrogen isotopes, tritium and deuterium, or deuterium together to make kind of the way the sun does it. But there's a whole other type of fusion. It was discovered by a couple of Japanese guys, Osawa and Kushi, before I was even born, but they got suppressed. And that's what metal oxygen fusion is. And so it's a safe way. Fission, the plants that melted down are fission. They take uranium and they break it down. And that makes a whole bunch of radioactive particle waste, cesium and plutonium and all kinds of other nasty strontium and iodine-131 and various forms of xenon-137 and whatever, lots of the nasty radioactive things, and they last for a long time, and it's really contamination. Whereas with fusion, you're putting things together, and the resulting product isn't radioactive. It's just like putting building blocks together, and so metal oxygen fusion is one of those, and so I got together with a group of people, and we basically reproduced Osawa and Kushi's experiments successfully. And we actually now giving away the only working over unity fusion reactors on planet Earth.
Okay,
so, and they don't cost billions of dollars.
To file the patent, and now we've got people around the world basically replicating, proving out that you're...
That's right. It's very replicatable, and they're making their own little fusion reactors and trying to file patents themselves on top of our patent. Okay. But that's what happens with success. So... yes, fusion is here now. It's metal oxygen fusion, MOXIE.
Okay.
And it's happening. So that was a solution, and we're still all around. So C60 worked. But of course, what we're talking about today is all the craziness. Like in the Ukraine, they have the Ukrainians are threatening to blow up nuclear reactors
in Russia
to spite the Russians because. And which is kind of stupid, but anyway.
Yeah, and if we go back and we think about Chernobyl, I mean, we've got these things that have occurred in our lifetime, from Chernobyl to Fukushima, and it's not isolated to that one particular area. It impacts all of us. So these are not good decisions. And you play stupid games, you're going to win stupid prizes.
Oh yeah, and most of the fission reactors, burning the uranium in the United States are actually 20 to 40 years over their license date.
Okay,
So they should have
we
been
have a
shut there.
problem.
So yeah, exactly. And in fact, those big floods we had like 3 years ago, they almost lost.
California?
No, it was in the Midwest. They
Okay.
almost lost a nuclear reactor in I think Indiana. It didn't
Yikes.
flood. If it had flooded, we'd have a little mini Chernobyl right here in the United States. So I mean, this possibility. Of course, the war with the
Israel?
Israel and Iran. Iran has nuclear reactors. Israel has nuclear reactors, and if they start throwing missiles at each other, they're probably going to blow up each other's reactors. And even though it's downwind, it will.
It's going to affect
It's
us.
still going to affect us. I mean, I have a friend, Judd, and he actually doesn't have a thyroid because it was in the 1950s. Remember when they used to blow the nukes up in the
Desert here.
in the desert? Well, he was on the East Coast. He lived actually on the East Coast, I think Delaware, and he lived on a dairy farm. And one of those nuclear explosions, the fallout goes up into the air, and most of it falls out for, bigger stuff falls out within 24 hours, but a lot of the stuff just hangs around. And it
Stays in the atmosphere.
And then water vapor condenses on it.
Okay.
And so he lived at this dairy farm, and one of those clouds got condensed on and rained on the dairy farm. And they drank milk a lot, obviously living on the dairy farm. Oops. And so his thyroid was destroyed. In fact, my mother's thyroid had problems. Lots of people living on the East Coast and the Midwest had thyroid problems in that age group.
In the 50s and 60s?
Yeah, because of the nuclear weapons they're exploding. Now, of course, when they do that, they don't do that anymore, but then they started doing it underground, which is less dangerous. But still, it could happen. We could have a meltdown. They could have a war. They've got 2 wars going with nuclear reactors in the crosshairs. So having some method of protecting you from radiation is important.
Okay.
And one thing I want to tell you, they talk about radiation protectants, right?
Yeah.
That you'll hear things like iodine or this and that. Those actually don't protect you against radiation, the damage of radiation. C60, usually when radiation happens, it produces hydroxyl radicals or ions and superoxide ions. And so those are the most damaging oxidative radicals in the body, and C60 neutralizes them. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it actually, and that's what it was for the rats, because the rats were zapped with the gamma rays. They had lots of hydroxyl ions were produced. C60 neutralized enough of those hydroxyl ions. Usually it's glutathione's job. C60 neutralized enough of those hydroxyl ions that they lived. Whereas the control rats that didn't have C60, they died because those hydroxyl ions just tore them apart cellularly and overwhelmed their glutathione levels, and which usually takes care of hydroxyl ions. And the rats died. And so that's why you're probably having a bit of C60. Now, obviously, we're probably not going to get levels that would kill you, but obviously there's, any radiation damage is bad for you.
Right.
And so you could easily have that fallout. Now, I'll just talk about other things that they talk about. Like one of the things they talk about protecting you is taking iodine. Here's propylene iodine. And the reason they do that is because when you have a nuclear explosion or an atomic reactor, one of those side products of the breakdown of uranium is iodine. 131 is highly radioactive, has a half-life of 8 days. Mm-hmm. And like if you waited 8 half-lives, 64 days after that, the iodine 131 would disappear because half-life. Half-life is a time for half. If I had a pound of iodine 131, it would take 8 days for half of that to turn into something else, and then another 8 days to the half of that to turn into something else. And so after 8 days, it's essentially gone. Okay. But in the meantime, you got to protect yourself. So if there actually is an incident, that's why they want you to take lots of iodine, because what it is it's not, you just flood your body with iodine. So if you do absorb some of the radioactive iodine, usually in food, then it gets flushed out by the regular iodine. We'll just dilute it, dilution solution. You'll still get a little damage. And that's like, for instance, if that happens, you shouldn't eat any milk or cheese fresh milk or cheese for 80 days. Because the iodine comes down from the rain, it gets in the grass, the cows eat the grass, it gets in your milk, gets in the cheese, and then it gets into you if you eat it. In the same way with fish or anything else, you basically shouldn't do anything for 80 days on that.
That's going to be hard.
Yes, it is.
It's going to be really hard.
But that's not the only one. Another good thing, this is another chelator. This is chlorella. Chlorella is known to take out heavy metals, which are some of the types of stuff that comes out. Another one of the problems that comes out besides the uranium, besides the iodine 131, is something called cesium 134 and cesium 137. And cesium is in the same atomic family as sodium and potassium.
Okay.
So if you take like potassium chloride, lots of this, you just have so much potassium that if cesium is in the food you eat or something that you drink, it tends to wash it out of your body. So that's like a huge one. And then the last one.
When you say a huge one, just an extra supplement.
An extra supplement. And
you're
not fixing the radiation damage like C60 does.
Right.
C60
You're just helping to flush it out.
Yeah,
of your
you're
system.
flushing out, because when you have a nucleotide radioactive
Okay.
material inside of your body and it goes off,
Yeah.
that's bad.
Right.
So you don't want that. So basically you want to prevent anything from being resident in your body when that happens. And then the final one that you're going to have to worry about is strontium 90. And strontium 90 is another radioactive thing. Strontium is in the same family as calcium. It's an alkali earth metal. So if you this is a chelated magnesium, but if you flood your whole body with magnesium or magnesium calcium supplement, then that will flush that out. So it's basically you're taking iodine, taking potassium chloride is usually the best one, and then taking a magnesium calcium supplement, lots of it, way more than you would normally do. That during that time, the first month or so, the first months that will protect you against the radiation. But the only thing
but it's not really protecting you. It's just helping you flush it out.
Yeah, it's flushed out. It prevents it from getting inside your body and decaying inside your body, which is what you don't want.
Okay.
But C60 is the only thing that actually you can commonly get that will protect you against the damaging effects of radiation after it's happened.
From the free radicals.
Yeah, because there is a few other things that are available, but frankly, they aren't physically available to civilians.
Okay.
And then if there was a crisis, you're not going to get them. The government officials will. So if you want to protect yourself and your family against radiation, you really want to get some C60 and have it available in there. And also you can read about these radiation studies in whatisc60.org. We actually go there. It's an industry supported thing. We publish and we have links to human studies about how C60 has benefited humans, and we can post that on our site. But nobody who sells C60 can post animal studies. So an industry group got together and made whatisc60.org, where all the studies, human and animals, are posted, so you can learn about the benefits. Because technically, the three-letter agency says an animal study isn't applicable to human beings, but in the C60 case, it actually is, because C60 works at the cellular level to lift the oxidative burden or the radiation burden that your cells are under. And the difference between a human cell and a cow cell or a rat cell is virtually nothing. Yeah. There is no difference in their basic metabolism. They're very, very similar. So those animal studies work, and you can read the one about how the C60 protected the rats from radiation damage.
So, and what I think is so interesting is this particular study is what set you off on on your journey, and it's what supported the work that you were doing. It's what protected you. It's what protected your team, and as a result, an unexpected result, you ended up having a transformational health event, did your engineer on the project, Gary.
Yeah, because we were using it during the experimentation, and I thought, I kept using it afterwards. I had a little bit more energy. My mental focus was better. Maybe digestion was, better, right? But I just kept using it. I wasn't totally faithful to it.
And you were kind of intermittent. You weren't necessarily strict every single day.
Yeah, and so I went into my eye doctor about 7 to 8 months after I started using C60, and my drusen, or dry macular degeneration, had completely disappeared. And my eye doctor had never seen that happen in his entire career.
Yeah.
Right? But mine was pretty mild, and it only happened once. Well, in the meantime, my electrical engineer, Gary Rodriguez, had developed severe wet macular degeneration. That means he had and we used to be able to post his pictures, and there were before and after pictures. And I basically, because he had the type 2, Rodriguez, he had type 2 diabetes, I found a way to put C60 in MCT oil. With MCTs are medium chain triglycerides, and they're actually turned by your body into ketones by your liver very quickly, which is a flex fuel for your body. So now if you people that have glucose processing issues, they know that you can't get energy into your body because your cells aren't absorbing the glucose. Well, your cells can absorb ketones. And so having MCT oil ketones in your blood as well as the C60 is really important. And Gary is like an engineer, right? He'll go out and walk the dog, and he actually measures how many minutes it took him to walk the dog every day. Every day he has a log for that. So he kept very distinct records, and he found that like a tablespoon of C60, he's in his 60s, late 60s, a day for 1 year completely got rid of his wet macular degeneration, completely gone. And that's just impossible because supposedly it's not supposed to happen. Of course, other amazing, quote, miraculous healings happened with C60. But the main thing that we know about nerve cells, the retina is part of the nerve cells. The retina has lots of mitochondria. One of the things that C60 is, it's an SOD catalase mimic. And SOD is superoxide dismutase and catalase together get rid of superoxide, which is the most damaging oxidative radical in the body. And it's what's mostly produced in the mitochondria. It's produced elsewhere, but really a lot in the mitochondria. So C60 optimizes your mitochondria function, and that's important. Whereas in the radiation, C60 takes care of the hydroxyl ion, which is produced in a lot of places, but not a lot in the mitochondria, but all throughout the cell. And of course, C60 is all throughout the cell. So it protects you against superoxide and the hydroxyl ion, which are the only two things that C60 protects against. It doesn't protect against other oxidative radicals, which your body uses as signaling molecules like hydrogen peroxide, nitrogen oxide, that dilates, contracts your capillaries, very important for guys, and some others based around sulfur, iron, and zinc. And that's why C60 is the only antioxidant known which actually can increase athletic performance.
Well, we've covered a lot, and I feel like, you've shared some really powerful information. Thank you for your time. I think some of this might go over some of our listeners' heads because I kind of feel that way about myself. However, if you guys have questions, we are happy to answer your questions. We're sharing this information with you not to scare you. It's really for you to be empowered and to feel safe and secure and to know that you have choices. And there are things that you can do in advance to mitigate risk, regardless of what's happening in the geopolitical sphere.
And
you can do things to protect yourself, your family, your friends, and those that you care about.
Yeah, think of it as a proactive measure. And you can C60, the MCT coconut oil has like a real shelf life of like 4 years. The other stuff has for 2 years. If you freeze it in your freezer, of course, when you defraud, you've got to reshake it and redissolve it. But it can last almost infinitely. So this is kind of like a prepper thing. You probably don't want to use it, don't want to have to use it to protect against radiation. But if you do, you're going to have, it's going to be there and available for you because a lot of times in crisis situations, the mail does not get delivered. So, we're having a crisis. I need to get some now.
We can't get it to you.
Yeah, exactly.
What's going to happen?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So having some of it before
you need it,
before you have it. And just the three things you're looking for in any C60 product, whether it's us or somebody else. First, you want to get sublimated C60. And that's in sublimation is when a solid turns into a gas, then back into a solid. It's kind of like evaporation, the same thing. And you can purify C60 through sublimation in a sublimator. Basically, we stick the production ashes and the C60 in the sublimator. It turns them to gas. They float across. It turns the C60 into a vapor, floats across, condenses in the sublimator plate, and then now you got 99.99% pure C60 is what you want. Sublimated, 99.99% pure. And because what happens is a lot of C60 out there is actually produced through solvent. And they use methylbenzene, a known carcinogen, to make their C60. And so that's like you see 99.9% C60, which is found in something supercharged C60. The rest
there's also a bunch of other names.
Yeah, exactly. 0.1% left is solvent, a toxic carcinogenic substance. So you want to make sure you got sublimated and 99.99% pure. That's the basic. Then the other thing, you want it in the right oils, right? Oops, this is our magical green screen, but we can show you in something that isn't green, and that's our coconut oil. So all of our oils are all organic, and they're all organic, and we actually also one of the things you do after we make our products, we actually send them to a third-party verifier, so they test it for microbiologics and concentration. And we actually have a QR code on the side of our packaging where you can go to just scan your phone in, and you can see that our oils are organic. It's like certificates of analysis. You can see the after products that our product has been tested for microbiologics and C60 concentration. Hello, come back. There we go. And so you can be sure that our products are safe and effective.
Great, thank you. So, Ken, if people are considering stocking up, I want to be, prepared in case anything happens. I just want extra C60 on hand for my friends, for my family. The next question is, what kind should I get? What size should I get? What's your recommendation?
Okay, well, there's two choices here. We have C60 and avocado oil, and that has about a little over twice the concentration of C60 than in our MCT oil. It's easily digested, so that's probably something you want to buy and use. Now, on the other hand, we have C60 and MCT oil. And even though we have a 2-year expiration date on MCT oil, MCT oil actually has like a 6 to 8 year shelf
You said
life.
4 earlier.
Yeah, I said 4. That's what actually what comes out of the manufacturer's certificate of analysis, that are their expiration date expected test. It says test after 4. So it can actually last much, much longer. But we only do 2 years because that's just the way we do it. But but if you wanted to put something like on the shelf
in a bug out bag or something.
Yeah,
like
exactly. And you want C60. That's why you also make our C60 is in
amber glass bottles.
Yeah, in amber glass bottles, because light will degrade the product. So you always want to keep it in a dark, cool place, like any product. And so if you wanted to like put this away in the bug out bag or in the emergency, you just get like C60 and MCT oil. It will last almost forever. And it's also, the MCT is useful because it turns into ketones. So a lot of people use it in the paleo stuff because it turns into ketones. It can't.
Or the keto diet.
Keto diet. For the keto diet, you can't. It doesn't. It's immediately burnt by your body as fuel. So it essentially, it keeps you keto. It's non-fattening too.
Yeah, and also if you're somebody who's concerned about glucose or blood sugar levels,
yes, any of that
the
stuff.
MCT is great for you too. So we forgot one though. Let's talk about olive oil.
Oh yes,
that's another option.
Well, for some people that like olive oil, and olive oil has the same concentration of C60 as does avocado oil.
Okay.
And so people use olive oil in their salads or as regular. Some people just love olive oil.
Yeah.
The reason, but when it first came, C60 came out. I got a couple sources of C60, and everybody was using it in olive oil, because that's what the science research had done, because olive oil is well characterized and it's cheap and easily available. But
especially in Europe, like you can get it anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas I have a sensitive digestive system, so if I took a lot of olive oil, like an ounce of olive oil,
forget it.
I'd probably have to go visit the bathroom. But I can do that with avocado oil.
Okay.
And so it's also easy. It doesn't have like the really bite,
It's pretty
olive oil
smooth.
has a bite but avocado oil is very smooth, super easy to digest, has great health benefits in that way. And it has a stable omega-3 and omega-6 balance, because a lot of oils out there, some with C60 in them, like sunflower oil or safflower oil, they have a really high omega-6 to omega-3 balance, and they're actually inflammatory. Things like canola oil, soybean oil, cottonseed oil.
Please don't take those.
Yes, you shouldn't be eating those in your diet anyway. It's one of the reasons why people have such a bad health situation today. Those oils or especially nothing like hydrogenated oils like margarine. You should never, ever, ever eat those. So, you want to stay with healthy omega-3 oils. And the other thing also is we don't put C60 in things like hemp seed oil or flaxseed oil or fish oil, because those are really great in omega-3s. They're super healthy for you. Problem is they go rancid really quickly.
Yeah.
So if we were to put C60 in hemp seed oil and ship it to you, by the time it got you, it could be rancid. In fact, anything like a fish oil, a krill oil, a flaxseed oil, or a hemp seed oil should always be bought out of the refrigerated section of your health food store. Never buy it off the shelf. Chances are, you don't know how long that fish oil's been on the shelf. Chances are it's rancid, and rancid oil is bad for you. So you have to be really careful in that. In choosing that. That's always buy those types of omega-3 rich oils off the shelf of your off the refrigerated shelf.
Okay.
Not the refrigerated section. Do not buy it off the the standard shelf, because chances are it's rancid.
So the bottom line is this: if you are interested in the longevity or shelf life of oils, then go with the MCT. If you're strictly prepper bagging for the length of time that you can keep it, MCT. If you're interested in potency and also what is going to be easiest to digest for anybody that you introduce it to, then avocado oil.
Of course, there is the other choice of our gummies. Now, they've got a shelf life too, and the only problem, there's only one left?
There's only 8 months on these.
Only 8 months on these. But the problem with gummies is they taste so good. This is about 2/3 of a dose, so if you took 2 of these, you'd be okay. in extreme cases. But the problem is they taste so good, it's just hard to eat one, which is why there's only one gummy left in the box.
Yeah, you know what our trick is when we're trying to avoid eating chocolate, or you just get a sweet tooth sometimes, just eat one of those, or you can even eat half of one,
Especially
and it just nips it in the bud.
And because it's made of whole coconut oil, you get MCTs, but you also get the benefits of regular coconut oil. So that's like a booster in the morning. Yeah. So you get your C60, and you get like this a fast burn and a long burn of the benefits, because coconut oil is all saturated oils. Yeah. So that means your body can use them very efficiently and give you a lot of energy.
I will say this, please don't eat too many in the afternoon. I think my limit one day was 6, and I was up really late. And C60 has an energizing effect, and I would recommend, if you're going to have your gummies, eat them earlier in the day, and don't overdo it like I did, because nothing happens other than I had way too much energy.
Yes, and it just takes. That's why we always recommend in the morning to noonish, because it can keep you awake if you're one of those people that can't drink coffee after dinner and go to sleep. Yeah. Yeah. I know some people that can do that, so for them it's not a problem. But if you got the caffeine thing going, you want to make sure that you take them in the morning to noon.
Well, Ken, thanks for enlightening us a little bit on your journey and your experience around radiation protection. If anybody has questions out there, you guys can feel free to put your questions in the comment section. You can also email us at questions@shopc60.com, or if you have a question related to your product, send us an email for immediate response at support@shopc60.com, and somebody from our team will get back to you shortly. All right. Well, Ken, thank you very much for your time today.
I'm glad to be here.
All right. Thanks.